Right, I'm live. Let's just see how it's going. Oh, right, I am. I'm just going to share this, put it on Twitter, and on Facebook. There we are. And that's it, I think. Right then. So, got 3 people watching. That's good. Just wait for a few of you guys to turn up. I did tell you when there'd be a live stream, didn't I? I did tell you there was going to be one. So, I hope everyone. Oh, 5 people watching now. Hope you're all right. Hope you're all having fun and everything. Oh, I wish I could say the same, I'll tell you. It's been a bit of a nightmare. Hello, Iron Man Spartan. Welcome. How are you? I hope you're all right. It's not going to be a happy show, I'm afraid. A bit of a miserable sort of situation. But you know, you've got to take the rough with the smooth and all that. How are you? You all right, Iron Man? Thanks for joining me. Hello, Hugo. Greetings. I'm glad to hear it's Hugo. Welcome, Hugo. And welcome, Al McCall and Stan Smith. Good evening. Iron Spartan says, we will finally get out of Europe. I admire your optimism, Iron Man. I really do. I mean, I always said, as I said in my probe video, it's always better to be an optimist because. Hey, Lisa. Hello. How are you, darling? How are you? Hi, Lisa. How are you? Great to see you. Lisa of Cry Freedom Show. I always say it's better to be an optimist than a pessimist because if you're an optimist and you're proved wrong, then you get disappointed. But if you're a pessimist and you're proved wrong, then you miss out on all the fun. You kind of uninvite yourself to the party, don't you? So welcome, Stan, Iron Man, Lisa, Al, and Hugo. It's great to see you back again. Great, all of you. I think you've all posted before, so it's good to see you all back. Yeah, I'll show you what. I'll just show while we're waiting for people to come along. Lisa says, I think it lies in how much we believe in ourselves, Ben. Yeah, Lisa, I'm going to try and I am going to try to keep my spirits up tonight anyway. But here's a bit of luck. I found this today. I posted pictures of this on Facebook. You might have seen it. Look at that. That's amazing. Any of you know what that is? I managed to find out, actually, so I looked it up online. I was digging in a garden. I was digging, like I'm a gardener as well as all my other things I do. And I came across this. It was just underground. It's about 2 or 3 feet down. It's a tobacco pipe. I'm actually putting it in some water to get rid of the rest of the mud because it's still got a bit of mud on it, like this little hole which comes through. So I'm just going to soak it a little bit further, just to get the mud off it. Looks like apparently used to have like a 20 centimeter mouthpiece, and it used to. And like think Gandalf smokes, you know. Hello, Sonic Lady and Peter. Hello. Yes, Sonic. It's an 18th century smoking pipe. That's right. Well, according to online, it's about 200 years old. It's about 1800. So maybe from sort of the late 18th century, perhaps. But yeah, it is. It's made of clay. It's a tobacco pipe. And I was looking up, and it's just I found several others exactly like it. But I'm just soaking it now to get the mud off it. I thought it's amazing what you find, don't it, when you're digging. Iron Man says, I don't like to scaremonger, but I do think having extra food and supplies and supplies is a good thing in case of shortages in these times, but I hope it's never needed. Well, I know Iron Man, I'm not someone who does that myself, but I understand why people do. If I had if my daughter was younger, I would, I think. Taff, Derek Baker, hello, boyo, how are you? Brexit, is that ready? Breck X with a Twix. Oh, yeah, I wish. James Tilly Matthews, greetings. Evening, you bunch of edible truth truffles. I like that. Stan Smith, a nice weed pipe for you. Yeah. A weed pipe. Well, I don't know. It's just for tobacco, but apparently, yeah, you could smoke anything in there. John Nolan, it's the Germans. Oh, my God. John Nolan has been possessed by the etheric body of Michael Shrimpton yet again. Oh, Tina, how are you? And James. Lisa, I know I'm not going to panic. I'm not. We shouldn't. Yeah, then panic will happen. That's right. It's interesting. Like it's the same with the UFO issue. Whenever people talk about people panicking, they always don't include themselves. It's always like other people, isn't it? Tina said, people used to buy a repacked pipe, smoke it, and dispose of it like a cigarette. Yes, it was. Apparently, they were disposable. There's a lot of them around, and they were. Hugo Roos says, no pipe, spliffed up as usual. Nice one, Hugo. A weed pipe, Taff. Yeah, I had a puff on a weed pipe once. Anyway, guys. Yeah, it's Tina. I saw Richard's just released a new one. I haven't finished watching the last one with Andrew Johnson. I see he's just released a new one. I think it'd be nice to have a break from Brexit, actually. I'll say more about that later. But, yeah, I'll just make a note. Hang on. Yeah, just one moment. Lisa's just reminded me of something. She just reminded me of something. Anyway, I'll start with the comments on the live stream. On the live stream notice. So Woody Black says, "Oh, I'm not working then. I'll be there." Good. Woody Black is and Tina's there. Tina Silver and Woden. Hello, Woden. If Woden, if you're there, buy to 39 billion, says Woden. Oh yeah, and that's 3 bloody billion a month. I'll tell you more about that later. But anyway, hello Denise, and hello to Videos from the Underground. Greetings. Don't ever give up. Exactly. Oh, Tina, I'll look forward to checking it out. Thanks for letting me know about that, Tina. Appreciate that. I'll check it out. We also have oh, it's Halloween. Oh God, yeah. At least we can have a normal Halloween now, I suppose, can't we? Yeah, I'll go and watch Richard's video when I've finished. I've got to finish watching the rest of the first one, but I'll check out Richard's video. I watched the one where he goes looking for Richie Edwards. That was funny. He goes to the south of France. Right. But yeah. So thanks for all your comments on the live stream notice, and so I'm glad you all made it. And Taff says, "I'll be serious for a minute and tell you, Andrew Johnson and Richard D. Hall are top people. Yes, they are. They're very good. I really do like them. As you know, I don't agree with their every word, and I'm not scared to say so. But basically, they're two of the best people in the business. Actually, I'd say." So, guys, I've got a little lead off here. Well, I'll go into the details of what we're going to talk about this evening, and then I'll be interested to have your feedback on this. And what I'll do is when I'm reading the lead off, I won't be able to respond to every comments you post while I'm reading it, because there's just basically it means there'll be too much. And we've already got 33 people watching. We've had up to 70 to 80 people on some live streams I've done, and this means there's too many comments for me to reply to. I'll be here like till 3 in the morning. Hello, is it treason? Greetings. Will I be out haunting on Thursday? Yes, I'll be the Brexiteer vampire. Knock, knock. Trick or treat or crashing out. Yeah. So, yeah, what I'll do is when I finish reading my lead off, I'll simply go back and I'll delete any trolls that appear. Although the trolls seem to have given up on me at the moment. I haven't had a troll for about 3 or 4 live streams. So, but I'll just delete them, and then I'll come back and answer your question. And John Nolan says the anti-Larry Warren brigade do not like being criticised about their YouTube propaganda. Well, John, as you know, if you've watched my videos with Larry, you'll know that I've certainly been on the front end of that. Lisa says, someone saw a face in your headboard. I see it. He's neither smiling nor grimacing. Oh, right. That's supposedly Bungle, according to many viewers. That's Bungle from Rainbow. Does look a bit like him. He's just a very sort of very neutral face, isn't it? Yeah. Taff says live stream is like getting out of the house. Well, I'm glad, mate. I really am. Okay, so what's this about? I'm afraid it's not going to be a happy show tonight. If you watch my last video, another bloody delay, you'll sort of know that's kind of setting up the situation for today. When I for this particular live stream, when I made that video, the European Council had just agreed to in principle, an extension to Article 50 again. The third time it's been extended. They didn't exactly say how long it was going to be. There was a lot of talk about that, and just for a change, I mean, this was a good sign, because the last time they gave an extension back at the end of March, they agreed within a couple of hours to extend it all the way to Halloween. Theresa May, of course, is made of much softer stuff than Boris Johnson, and they found her a much easier proposition. This time, people kicked up, but I'll come into that in a minute. But anyway, unfortunately, yesterday the European Council announced they agreed in principle to extend Brexit till the 31st of January 2020. Oh God, that's 3 months. 3 months from this Thursday, and it's now been ratified, actually. But the EU Council President, Donald Tusk, said it was a flextension. Now, that's the new buzzword, flextension. Flextension means that, now this is a good thing, this is a piece of good news here. The flextension means that the UK could leave before that deadline if everything was worked out with the deal. Now, the deal, as you know, the deal has already been, the process of approving the deal, getting it into law, has already passed quite easily, surprisingly easy in the current Parliament, by 30 votes. So the first round, that is the first indicative vote on the deal, passed by 30 votes, even without the Democratic Unionist Party. So that's a good sign. So, but then what happened was then they said that if we at any time we sort this out, go through all the details as intended by the Letwin Amendment, then we could simply leave before the 31st of January. And the Prime Minister said repeatedly the UK would leave on the 31st of October. That's this Thursday, with or without a deal. But thanks to, I mean, Boris has taken a lot of stick from the Brexiteers, and I'll come on to that because I think it's unfair. But the law known as the Benn Act requires him to accept the EU's extension offer. It's not named after me, I should add. It's named after Hilary Benn. That's Benn. That's the MP who proved it. Honestly, his dad will be turning in his grave. Yes, he is the son of Tony Benn. Yeah. So Boris Johnson's do or die pledge to leave by the 31st of October is no more. It is dead. Very funny. Many will see this as no-deal Brexit being taken off the table at least until the 31st of January. Well, if at all then. I don't know. You see, that's why I talked a bit about this in the Another Bloody Delay film. This removal of no-deal Brexit is a trick. Anyway, the President of the European Parliament, David Sassoli, said the extension was positive. It gives time for the UK to make clear what it wants. We've had 3.5 years. We don't need any more time. Oh. Anyway, in the meantime, that's 3 months. That's £3 billion every month. That's £9 billion over this entire period that we'll be paying to the EU, which we're supposed to be leaving. £3 billion a month, £9 billion. I mean, they're not going to rush us out the door, are they? If you had a visitor who's paying you that much money, I'm sure you'd be very hospitable indeed, wouldn't you? So we have the extension, but it's not as bad as it could have been. It could have been just an unconditional extension, but it's not. It has the flex extension built in, but it doesn't have the other essential of the two strings I was talking about. I said they need strings attached. The second one was a legally binding guarantee that this would be the last delay, and it doesn't have that. Which means that at the 31st of January, there's nothing preventing them from extending it again for a fourth time. And you know very well there'll be plenty of people in the UK Parliament that will only be too glad to see that happen. The Corbyns and Swinsons and Blackfords and other scumbags that have taken over the bloody country. It's like a coup d'etat. It really is. As for Emmanuel Macron, So much for him. So much for all his mouth. Now, he was the one he backed down. Now, he was the one who had isolated himself over, who was actually just got together several other people to try and make the extension different. In other words, make it considerably shorter. He wanted several weeks to a month as an extension, which is what Boris was talking about. But anyway, he caved in, didn't he? So I said that if he pulled this off, I'd apologise to him for all the rude things I've said to him. But he just immediately went along with it. I mean, he could have said no. He only needs one person to veto it. It's not like Parliament where you have to get a majority or 2/3 or whatever. Just one. If one member of the 27-member council says no, then the decision is automatically dismissed. He could have done that and he didn't. So I'm still going to call it. I'm not apologising to him now. I'm saying he's a soy-fed globalist gimp, and he should be ashamed of himself. Oh dear. Anyway, so as Katja Adler says at the BBC, the Brexit dance goes on as EU approves a new extension of the UK. Yes, it's an excruciating, long and confusing political dance, and the dance is not over yet. Why did it take the EU so long to make that decision? Because early last week, they were confident assertions were being made that the UK's 3-month extension request would be approved. I say request. Boris actually didn't make a formal request. He did a very interesting. What he did was very interesting, and I talk about it in my Boris's letters video, which I think was a very. It's been misinterpreted by several people, and it is actually a very brave and decent thing he did. It was a very valiant act of defiance. Anyway, the announcement day has taken over almost a week now. So they were going over it for a long time. So they were talking about it for a long time. Macron was talking about having a shorter, sharper extension, and of course that hasn't happened. So now they've been minting some coins which to celebrate Brexit, and they're now going to be melted down. These posters which said "Get ready for Brexit, 31st of October," they're going to be removed now. Now, the moment this decision was made, Boris's immediate response was to withdraw the withdrawal agreement bill. So they immediately brought back this bill had already been passed in its first stage. Was now withdrawn. So this is a change of strategy, because of course what I expected to happen was that this week would be dedicated to going through the bill, and just like under the Letwin amendments, and it's going through the bits and pieces. After a couple of weeks, maybe it could be done, but that hasn't happened. Boris has withdrawn the entire bill, and he's now focusing on arranging a general election. This represents a change of strategy, and it is frustrating. They're essentially cancelling the deal or postponing it until after a general election, and that's going to take some time. So essentially, this is essentially a strategic retreat. It's not the end, but it is a retreat. If you imagine it like a battle with two lines of soldiers, and there's an enemy line, and the enemy line is Brexit. And the good guys, Boris and the Brexiteers, are charging against the enemy line. And what they've done is they've been driven back, but now they're going to regroup and then try again. And it's like that. The defenders have driven them back. It's not the end of the battle, but it is the end of that particular rush to the enemy line. Now, what's going to happen next? We don't know. But we could be as long as 3 months now until there's actually a Brexit. And indeed, we know what will happen. You see, what will happen if the Ramonas get away with it is that if the Ramonas get away with it, history will simply repeat itself. It'll be Groundhog Day. We'll get to the end of January, and we'll go through this exact same process again. There'll be another bill in Parliament which will prevent a no-deal Brexit. Then the deal will then be obstructed until again we just say, look, we haven't worked out. Can we have another extension, please? And the EU there's no reason why the EU shouldn't grant yet another extension. Incidentally, I've been criticised for using the word Ramona someone who listens to her Panmo radio took offence at that. They said I shouldn't use the word Ramona; it's demeaning. Well, I did think about that, what they said, and I have to disagree. I think Ramona is actually quite kind. Firstly, what they say about Brexit, what the other side says about Brexiteers is far worse. They call us racists, misogynists, homophobes, transphobes, everything elseist and everything elsophobe you can imagine. And they say all kinds of other horrible attacks again. They call us uneducated. They call us white van drivers. They call us little Englanders. They call us lager louds. All kinds of things they call Brexiteers. 17.4 million of us, they call us that. I'm also a lot kinder to the Ramonas than some people. I've seen people saying that anyone who voted Remain in the referendum should be prosecuted for treason. I don't say that. I believe there are people in the Remain camp who have committed treason. Most people in senior governmental positions, I believe. But for your average Joe who goes out and votes Remain, I don't believe that in itself is an act of treason. I think that to commit treason, you have to know what you're doing. I think these people didn't realise what they were doing. Anyway, so now they're trying to get now Boris wants a general election. He's cancelled the entire deal, or at least he's postponed it until after the general election. Now, under the Fixed Term Parliaments Act, there can be no general election for at least 5 weeks. Indeed, they're looking now for the 5 or 6 weeks. Several dates have been mentioned: the 7th of December, the 10th of December, the 12th of December, the 9th of December. There's a lot of quibbling over the dates between the Lib Dems and the Tories. For some reason, it's a big deal which day it's on, and I don't know why that is. But for some reason, they're quibbling over the dates. So now, in fact, just before I came on the air, it was announced that had actually passed. That the MPs are now backing a December election. It hasn't. There's still some amendments to get through and some things to be finalised. But there are. But at the moment, things are looking quite good. There was no formal vote. It was just done with ayes and noes. You just shout out, and then the speaker says who's making the most noise wins. Very democratic, that, I'm sure. 10 of the Tory MPs who've actually were expelled: Alistair Burt, Catherine Knowles, Greg Luxon, Nicholas Soames, Ed Vasey, Kenneth Clarke, Richard Benyon, Steve Hammond, Richard Harrington. They've actually been. Oh no, not Kenneth Clarke. Sorry. But the others have all been brought back into the fold. They've had the whip restored, which means they've been readmitted to the party. Their expulsion has been overturned. I don't think that'll make much difference, to be honest. I doubt if that'll make much difference. They're still going to vote the way they want to vote. I mean, the thing is, the whole party thing is broken down now. Everyone's just a single issue voter, whether you're in Parliament or outside it. But so far, it looking hopeful for a general election. Now, of course, that's a long time, isn't it? That's 6 weeks, but it's as soon as we can have it. It can't be any sooner. But now, if that doesn't work, there could be a short bill. That's something that will a short bill temporarily. It's a temporary revision or repeal of the Fixed Term Parliaments Act. And that's another method that Boris might use. Another alternative is for Boris to call a vote of no confidence in himself and his own government. That's another way of doing it. Anyway, the SNP, the Scottish National Party, who they're supposedly Scottish nationalists, they're not nationalists at all. They're pro-EU. No one who's pro-EU can call himself a nationalist. That includes Sinn Féin, includes Plaid Cymru, and all these other supposedly nationalist parties. Anyway, Labour and SNP are now saying that they're going to oppose an election unless a no-deal Brexit is taken off the table. However, Labour are not united behind that. In fact, Corbyn could end up facing a backbench revolt. At any point, the opposition could call for a vote of no confidence in the government. And Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn previously said he would table a motion. But since then he hasn't, because he knows that this often follows with a general election. And and he's very much against the general election, and it's obvious why the Lib Dems and Labour and the SNP and all the others are opposing a general election, because at the moment they are ruling the country because they've basically taken over the House of Commons. It's incredible. It's an incredible situation. I don't know if there's a precedent in history for this, but the government, which is supposed to be a majority, we don't in Britain. I mean, in America and many other countries, it's different. So my viewers in the United States may not realise this, but in the United Kingdom, we do not have an elected head of government. The head of government is the leader of the party who has the majority in the House of Commons. But at the moment, and then when that happens, that party is called the governing party. The other party, the largest of the other parties, is called the opposition party, and their leader is called the leader of the opposition. Yet at the moment, we have the party of government and the head of government in a minority, and the opposition. Now basically all the parties, including the opposition and all the other parties, are ganging up together and bullying the government. And I don't know if there's actually a way of breaking this deadlock. I don't think so. I don't know if there's a law which actually forces a no confidence in the House of Commons and the government in that situation. We have a minority government, and really, it's something you think someone would have thought of. That it's a very obvious thing that could happen in the event of a situation like this, where the government is in a minority. That means the alternative parties just simply can then rule the country, even though they're not the parties of government. Someone should have thought of this years ago. I mean, you think it was seen as we've had a parliament for like 500 years. You'd think at some point someone would have said something like this. But anyway, that the situation is now really, there's no need for any. In fact, there doesn't have to be election until May 2022. So, technically, could they carry on? Could they carry this situation on until then? Because in which case, forget Brexit, forget everything. They're going to. Oh, it's going to be awful. I mean, I don't know why. I think this is probably making maybe some people think carefully about the very nature of the European Union. And this is the good side of what's happening. This is the silver lining to the cloud. And in fact, the worse it gets, the better it gets, paradoxically, because what they're showing is that the whole Article 50 process is a sham. It should be removed. It should be removed completely from the European Constitution. Because it's obvious that Article 50 is there that can allow a member state to become independent if they choose. But of course, we've chosen that, and no one's letting it happen. So why not stop being hypocrites and get rid of Article 50 and just admit, yes, you could join the EU, but you can never leave. You're under permanent occupation forever and ever and ever. And this should be a message, right? Because there's several countries at the moment who are outside the EU, but they're thinking of joining. For example, Turkey, Slovenia, and I forgot the others, but this should be a lesson for you guys. Don't. It's like a lobster pot. You can get in very easily, but you can never get out. So, at the moment, there's all kinds of amendments coming in. Jeremy Corbyn reckons he's ready for an election now, after saying he's going to oppose one. And apparently he changed his mind after the EU gave the UK another extension, which means what he's hoping to do is win the election. And they will. We've got to be careful about this because, as I said in my, a general election is a very, very dangerous gambit on the part of Boris Johnson. It could backfire. But the thing is, I understand it's kind of a dilemma because there's no way. I think the reason he's calling for a general election is because of this situation where he's being bullied by the opposition, essentially an opposition coalition. It's informal, but exists, and they're bullying him. And a general election is the only way of having any chance of getting out of that situation. If he can have a general election and win it, then the problem's solved. We'll be out of the EU in 2 weeks. But if he can't, then he's really got nothing to lose now by having a general election. Anyway, there's several amendments being published which are going to be debated, including there's various dates that's been suggested. Good grief! Somebody wants to change the election date to the 7th of May 2020 and hold a second referendum on the EU first. Have a guess who that is. It's going to be one of the Lib Dems, isn't it? Now this is worrying. Now this is obviously Labour or Lib Dems tabling this. Someone suggests giving EU citizens the vote. This means foreign nationals living in Britain who are citizens of EU member states should be allowed to vote, which is absurd. I can't see that part being passed at all. Another amendment is one which comes up at every election, and it's one that's been thought about. I think it's been one that's been thought about several times. It's never been passed before, but it's giving 16 and 17-year-olds the vote. That is reducing the age of voting from 18 to 16. And I think the reason they want to do this is because someone worked out, based on opinion polls of 16 to 18-year-olds, that if they'd been allowed to vote in the EU referendum, then that they alone, as a voting bloc, would have made it a Remain victory, which is why I think they're trying to do this. It's obviously Labour trying to do this. Number 10 now, but Boris is clamping down hard on this. He says he'll abandon the latest attempt if MPs are giving 16 and 17-year-olds and EU nationals the vote. So he's not going to compromise on that. Mr. Corbyn told MPs, we want the election to involve as many people as possible. No, you don't, Jeremy. You want the election to involve as many people as possible who you will know will vote for you, including all the students who are going to vote twice. This is, and also Downing Street said extending voting rights in this way would delay any election by as much as 6 months. Again, that's another reason why they're doing it, because they want to delay the election. A Downing Street spokesman said, nothing would sum up how broken this parliament is after them all standing up and saying they want a general election. They vote for an amendment which is deliberately designed actually to prevent the delivery of a general election before 2020. Exactly. Labour has, against the wishes of many of its MPs, shifted to supporting a December election, and with that, it means it's the first December general election since 1923. I suppose because it's close to Christmas and everything, that's the problem. But also, I think the student issue is an interesting one, because you have students are people with 2 home addresses. And because we don't have any ID at polling stations, as I was saying in my last video, it means that a lot of them have been voting twice. They've been voting in both constituencies. That's just the start of the electoral fraud. And the Prime Minister hopes this election will give him victory at the polls that will allow him rapidly to get his Brexit deal through Parliament and the UK out of the EU. Yes, it does. But it's risky because, as it says here, Labour, the Lib Dems and the SNP hope for a chance to stop Brexit happening and expand their own political positions at a junction in the country. Yes. Labour says... Corbyn said, I've consistently said that we're ready for an election and our support is subject to no deal Brexit being taken off the table. And no, that is a trick, and Boris must not agree to that. If Boris agrees to that, it'll be a terrible mistake. I said that in my last video. It's all, that is, as I said, it's intended to shut one of the doors. There's 3 doors still open. Brexit with a deal, no deal Brexit, and cancelling Brexit. Obviously, they're going to just try and obstruct every deal that comes along and be as curmudgeonly as possible when it comes to processing the deal. I mean, the Letwin agreement is just a start. Just you watch. They ain't got going yet. So what they'll do then is there's only one door left, isn't there? I'm sorry, but we're going to have to cancel Brexit. We got to cancel Brexit. We don't want to. I'm so sorry for all those people who voted to leave, but it's just too difficult. We've tried, and I'm afraid we can't do it. It's a trick. It's a trick. I hope Boris doesn't fall for it. The government's plan. Addressing MPs, Mr. Johnson claimed that an early election was the inevitable consequence of Parliament's decision to thwart his Brexit bill. Well, yes, exactly. Because he realizes now he cannot make any progress against the Parliament, against this bullying, this coup d'etat that's happened. The PM said it was time to refresh the Parliament and give the people a choice about the future of Brexit and the country. This is the fourth time that Mr. Johnson has tried to get Parliament's approval for an election. On the previous occasions, he sought to do it by way of a Fixed-Term Parliaments Act, which requires 2/3 of all 650 MPs to put it through. But now it's possible there may be a way around that. The SNP Westminster leader Ian Blackford said a strong performance by his party will bring Scottish independence a step closer. Well, to be honest, yeah, you do. There is now a just cause for another referendum. But as I've said, the Scots really need to stay out of the EU. Whatever. If this is just a trick to get Scotland into the EU, they mustn't fall for it. The Lib Dem leader Joe Swinson said, "We need to see the path forward, and if it's not going to be through another referendum, and there's not support for that in this Parliament, then we need to look at the other way to do that. Right now is through having a general election, so she can then win. Her and her cronies can win, and just do a second referendum or revoke Article 50. Both the Independent Group for Change, CUC, in other words." The Independent Group for No Change, I think, is more accurate. And Plaid Cymru, which has 4 MPs, and CUC, which has 5, says they will vote against an election and instead continues to support the people's vote. Anyway, no one knows what the DUP are doing right now. They're being very secretive. Anyway, this is interesting. This is from, who's this from? Laura Kunsberg. Brexit in 2020 if Tories win the election, number 10 source. A number 10 source has told the Press Association that if the Conservatives win a general election, then Brexit will likely not come until 2020. Well, we know that's 31st of January, but asked if it's meant departing the EU, they said probably the start of January 2020. So it'll still be early. I mean, it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. But as I said in my last video, there's lots of hazards. If honestly Brexit will happen, if Boris can pull this off, if this works in Boris's favour, then he will essentially beaten this move against him. If he can just win the general election, get Parliament back on his side, kick out all these lousy traitors who are currently inhabiting the opposition benches. And indeed, the opinion polls seem to be indicating that is the case. That is what will happen. And indeed, some of these Labour and Lib Dem MPs are in Leave areas, so people who voted Leave in the referendum, and they're not on their good books right now. If that happens, then basically Brexit will happen in 2 weeks. Brexit could happen in 2 weeks, because then all the obstacles will be out of the way. But there are several hazards that might come our way. One of those is that there'll be electoral fraud. Now, we mentioned the students voting twice, and students, you know what universities are like and what they teach you there, the gender studies classes and things like that. Who are students going to vote for? See? And they're voting twice. This is why Boris wants voter ID. He wants ID at polling stations to stop that from happening. This is why Labour are against it, because they know that this particular demographic always votes for them. There'll be all other kinds of electoral fraud. I mean, look at the Peterborough by-election and the individuals involved in that who had been prosecuted for electoral fraud. This may be the mother of parliaments. The electoral fraud is a possibility, which is why if you live in a marginal seat, you need to get down the polling station for that night when they're counting the votes, and keep an eye on what's going on. Check for extra boxes being added to the pile. That happened in Ireland during the Lisbon Treaty, and it happened in Scotland during the last independence referendum. Another problem, and Boris must realise this, is the Brexit Party. It's too big to ignore. I mean, the Townley by-election has just gone past. It was returned to the Conservatives with a much smaller majority. But the reason is because the Brexit Party put up a candidate who was essentially competing against the Tory. I've got the details here. It's just unbelievable. I mean, this is just so obvious. I mean, Boris must realise this. Here we go. Yeah. Torksey West Lindsay result. Conservative 35.7%. Brexit Party 28.2%. Lib Dem 32.6%. So the Conservatives lost that. The majority was reduced by 22.9 points. And the Brexit Party gained 28.2 points. It's a Conservative hold, but only just. And the point here is that what will happen in a general election is that every effort will be wasted if Boris, in his infinite wisdom, decides to compete, and Nigel Farage, they decide to compete against each other in this election rather than join forces and unite. Because you could bet, that the Ramonas will not think twice about joining forces. They will have no qualms at all about forming an anti-Brexit alliance. And if they're up against two separate parties who are in favour of Brexit and they're fighting each other under the political system we have, they'll essentially be divided and conquered. If they're going to put up candidates against each other, I mean, in this case, this particular Tory in this particular by-election is he's one of Boris's closest. He's one of his closest allies in the Brexit, and the Brexit Party should be supporting someone like that. And Boris should be working with Nigel Farage to form an agreement. It doesn't have to be a coalition of government or coalition of campaigning. It just has to be a non-aggression pact, which means that, I mean, Conservative obviously will have a candidate in every seat. Just say to the Brexit Party, look, it's in your interests not to put candidates up against Conservatives. You must form, or even if it's just like a constituency coalition, you do not put up candidates against Conservatives. Because if you do that, it'll split the vote, and the other side, the Labour Lib Dem coalition, will come through the middle and win. So those two hazards are very, very worrying. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen if we're not careful. Now, I feel this particular extension is different from the last one in the way that the Brexiteers, people like me, are responding to it. It's actually quite very disheartening because there's a strange sense of quiet. There's almost quiet resignation. And indeed, I've been looking at some videos by ex-Army Paz. Now, ex-Army Paz has essentially said that he's essentially giving up now. And Dabima, who's this chap, this ranty bloke, he's saying, no, this obviously is not going to happen. Both these people have now considered that Boris has betrayed them. And a lot of people, especially the Brexit Party, and Brexit Party have been saying this, which again is a mistake. Boris has not betrayed anyone. Boris has made a very, very defiant stand. He's done what no other prime minister has ever dared to do. The things he's done during this Brexit period have exceeded even my expectations of him. The ones which I laid out. I mean, in my live stream about Boris when he became prime minister, I said we can test him. We can put him to the test to see if he's sincere or not. He's passed those tests and more. They're blaming him. They're saying the deal is Brexit in name only. They're saying that Boris is against WTO and he just wants the deal because it's fake Brexit. No. Boris is not against WTO. In fact, he wanted WTO on Thursday, and it was the Benn Act that stopped him. Boris has said all along, 31st, do or die. 31st of October, with a deal or without a deal. And he's worked on his deal. Yeah, the deal's not perfect. The deal is there's a lot of problems with the deal. But it is something that I think could be worked with. It could be worked with. But there's this kind of there's almost a defeatism in some areas now, and you know something's going on behind the scenes. There's a strange sense of subtext here, which is you often get this in politics, and you see it now. What's not being said is more interesting almost than what has been said. I listened to a radio show today about Northern Ireland and about how there is a genuine paradox there in Northern Ireland. It's not as simple as I thought it was. I mean, I do still believe it could be sorted out and indeed I think Boris is trying to sort it out. However, it appears that there may well have been plans to use Northern Ireland to keep Britain in the EU even before the Brexit issue came up. Anyway, Donald Tusk has said, he tweeted this. He says, because he just tweeted, the EU 27 has formally adopted the extension. It may be the last one. Please make best use of this time. So there's no guarantee it'll be the last one. It might be. Please make best use of this time. He said that last time. He said that back in March to Theresa May. And what's he doing? Give us another 3 months. He says, I also want to say goodbye to you as my mission here is coming to an end. I will keep my fingers crossed for you. What does that mean? Is he quitting the presidency? I don't know. So that's the situation now. It means basically Brexit is now off the cards for at least the next 2 months. Possibly, like I say, we don't know if or when there'll be a Brexit now. I mean, what's going to happen on 31st of January if things go against Boris in the election, or if there's no election, he doesn't manage to get one, they could just give us another extension. Or by that time, the Ramonas will have wangled a second referendum or revoking Article 50 or something. I mean, if Boris loses the election, then the Ramonas will clean up. They'll just keep marching. Lib Dem, Labour, hand in hand. They just revoke Article 50. If, on the other hand, Boris wins the next election, then we could get out of the EU probably within 2 months. But for now, it's off. I'm afraid for now it's off. It's now off the cards, which is annoying, very annoying indeed. The general feeling in the YouTube Brexiter sphere and the Brexit social media sphere is frustration and anger, because now we're going to have to wait again, as if we haven't waited enough. The good news, the good side of that is that we get it. I mean, I personally can take a rest from it all, and maybe I need to rest from it. And all I can do really for the next 2 months, I can't sit here biting my nails and going on about Brexit, because I'll drive myself around the bend. So probably I'm going to take a step back. And I mean, I get the feeling that several people are doing that. There's no talk of any big Brexit betrayal protest on Thursday. I thought there might be one. Several people have talked about getting together in pubs for social events and discussions about what to do. But I don't know if those are worth attending. I was hoping for some big protest, but I'm certainly not going. I'm not going to go down there if there's not some properly organised protest, because I'll just get arrested again. I'll just be attacked by Ramonas and I'll get arrested again, or I'll end up in hospital. So there's a sense of resignation, and it's not. I don't believe people are going to give up, especially if the election election vote is on the way. There's a chance. I'm certainly not going to give up, but I'm going to have to stop thinking about Brexit for a bit. I'm going to have to just put it to the back of my mind. Otherwise, I'll just go crazy, because it's two bloody months with this churning around in my head is going to drive me nuts. So I'm going to carry on writing my new book, and I'm going to talk about other things. So I'm going to go back to the other things that I talk about. So anyway, let's have a look at your comments. Okay, first things first, I'm just going to de-troll. So I'm just going to let's get the troll. Now, where are we now? So I'm afraid I won't be able to read. I probably won't be able to read any of these comments. But if you may be talking to each other, that's fine. I just check I just check it for trolls. But if you want to ask me things, by all means, hello, Sawn and Les Allites. Can you repeat your questions? I'm sorry, I can't stop to answer them here, because otherwise I'll be here all night. Hello, Stephen. How are you? Hello, Woden. How are you? Hotel California, says Woden20. That's right. You can check it. You can check in, but you can never leave. I really do wish they would just get rid of Article 50 and be honest. Stop being hypocrites. Tell people, if you join forever. We have your country for the rest of eternity. You surrender your sovereignty and that's it. Preacher Bear, hello, welcome. David Schultz, hello, how are you? Hi, DJ. Oh, where are we now? No trolls again? You got all quiet, you trolls. I think you can't. You know that you know very well that I'll just delete you if you turn up. Steven says, go on holiday, get a tent, go camping. Yeah. Is it treason? Says, I think Ben defending Bojo too. You think I'm defending Bojo too much? I believe he will send more disabled people to an early death. Sell the NHS. So it's got to be Jeremy for me. Well, I don't think that's a good. I don't believe that would happen. I mean, as an NHS serviceman, I can tell you, the NHS suffered far more under Labour than it ever did under the Conservatives. This is during the Blair years. I worked in the NHS during the entire Blair period, and I'll tell you what, it was awful. PFI and things like that came in. As for sending more disabled people to an early death, well, was that not happening under the last Labour government? Proselytizing Orthodox Pentecostal trans rabbit. The person with one of the best names of any of my viewers says, if you go around the bend any further, you'll be back where you started. DJ B2 says, the funding of the IRA does seem a bit suspect. Well, yeah, probably, I don't know. They get their money from America and places like that. Nothing says, I don't understand Ramonas. It's not like you're seceding from the United States, Hawaii Leave Act. Well, we are, really. It's like that, though, Nothing. It is similar. DJ, I'm not going to de-troll you because you're not a troll. Don't worry, I know the trollers. Yeah, I know the trolls, and they're not there. Well, Stephen, we've had no trolls now. I think they've given up. James Tilly Matthews says, I really don't like this disillusioned Ben counters. It's like watching a youngest son losing his first girlfriend. Oh, James, I'm not that disillusioned. I am annoyed and I'm upset and I'm frustrated. I had high hopes. I did think, could we actually get out WTO on the 31st? I did believe it was possible. I thought Boris was serious about that. People are blaming him. They're claiming that he's a betrayer now. Like ex-army Paz and Dabina are now turned completely against Boris. And they say, I'm voting for the Brexit Party. Well, there's no point voting for the Brexit Party at all, unless they're in coalition with the Tories. There's absolutely no point. You'll ruin everything if you do that. Hi, Simon Tucker. Greetings. Hello, Paul Armstrong. The Wirral crew are here, says Stephen. Yeah, Lisa is here as well. Tink123. Tink123. Don't we just leave because time is up and we wasted it on purpose, missing the beginning of your No, Tink, unfortunately, no, because of the nasty little bastards who brought in the Benn Act, which is correctly known as the Surrender Act. They did this last time. It was actually Yvette Cooper who actually engineered it last time. This time it was Hilary Benn, the bastards. Both of them scum. We can't just leave now. Boris has tried, but unfortunately, he can't have his way because Parliament has basically been taken over by Ramonas now, who are not in government. They've not been elected into government, but they've taken the whole thing over, and they're bullying him. Rose White, hello, Rose, says Brexit fatigue. I think that's the official term. Yes, it is. I can feel it, can't you? I really know what it is. I think, Rose, what the hope is the Ramonas are doing is they're just hoping to kick this can along the road until we just forget about it. We get bored of it and it goes down the memory hole, because people do have short memories, especially if something happens that will actually bury it. For example, as I said, senior member of the royal family dying, Prince Philip or somebody. A lot of things could happen which will take Brexit away from people's attention during this 3-month period, and they can just have another extension at the end of it, or by that time probably engineer a second referendum. Videos from the underground. Don't let Ramonas wear you down, mentally tire you out. The EU is the EU SSR. Correct. DJ B2 PFI was Gordon Brown. Shit. Yeah. It was Brown Blair, is both of them. Stephen says Labour are worse than the Tories. Yes, they are. They are. Labour is shit. This is Goonlove. Yeah. Armand Adams says Labour did a good job of destroying the NHS. I left the NHS because of its demand and changes on staff. Yeah. Well, Armand, you know, I noticed that during the period I was there. I was 23 years, and it changed so much. Paul Armstrong says, I think Ben is finally troll-free. It looks like I am. For the last few weeks, Paul, I have been. I think the trolls have given up because they know I just delete them. So they've just given up, I think. Stephen says, Blair would never got away with this if he was under the flag of Conservatives. I don't know. Rabbit says he likes Blair. Oh, God, there has to be someone who likes him, doesn't it? Rose White says, but we must not give up. Rest, regroup, rebuild our strength for the next battle. The issue is too important to give up. Absolutely, Rose, and I'm not going to. Absolutely. I know it's a bugger. Now we've got to wait at least another 2 months. We've got to wait for the election now. The important thing now is to make sure the election is done properly and fairly, because if it is, then Boris will win it. He'll win it hands down. It'll be a landslide. And a lot of these slime balls that are running Parliament at the moment will be kicked out. But they're going to go full bent, hell bent for leather when it comes to electoral fraud. And indeed, the Boris must not create a divide and rule situation with other Brexiteers, such as Farage. He mustn't. Farage and him are now at loggerheads over this whole issue, and they need to sort of basically man up and grow up and realize what they have a common cause. And they can, you know, this is one of the things where you shouldn't be fighting over petty differences. You can do that afterwards. Pentecostal Trans Rabbit says, tell me more about this book you're writing. All right, well, it's going to be, I'll put a link in. Let me just show you. I'll show you it, actually. Let me put a link to it, to the details, in there now. I just put a little post about the new book I'm writing at the moment. It's going to be called, well, I've got a working title, which is The Obscurati Chronicles. And so there's the details on there. I can't talk about it now, but there's the details on there. Yeah, Sonic Lady says the EU is part of the constant march of communism. It's part of their plan, the great plan. I voted out, but now realise they will never allow this. Sonic Lady, the way things are going, I don't think they're trying to stop it. But, you know, the good news is that, and this is why I'm trying to keep hopeful and take a step back and look at it unemotionally, is that when they do this, they simply weaken themselves. Everything that's happened with Brexit since June 2016 has been a series of victories on our part, even though it hasn't always looked like that, because of the way they've resisted, the way they've tried to undo Brexit has completely discredited them. Totally. It's discredited them completely. And that's good news. People can see them for what they are. And politicians, you know, nasty politicians who can't make themselves look good, fail. Is it treason? Says Tory party election broadcast here. Well, if they pay, well, they're going to pay me. They haven't paid me a penny. Xavier Smith, hello, Xavier, says, Prince Philip, don't get your hopes up. I think he's dead already. I think they're just waiting for the right time to remind it. Did you remember my video about the car crash? It's called Crash of the Lizard Prince. Stephen Truthseeker says, let's have a general election. Yes. That's the next thing we've got to go for. I know it's going to be 5 to 6 weeks, which will be annoying. But that's the next step, is to get that out of the way, get that done, and then we go for Brexit then. And it'll be a lot easier. If it goes Boris's way, it'll be a hell of a lot easier. DJ B2, Corbyn wants to propagandize 16 to 70-year-olds voting. Yes, of course he does. Well, look at Momentum. It's made up of these people. And look at Owen Jones. I mean, Owen Jones is actually older than that. He's actually older than he looks. He's in his 30s, but he looks like a 16 or 17-year-old. He bloody acts like one too. Tink123 says, Hillary Benn, she's done this. It's actually a he, not a she, but he needs Gitmo. It's a coup. It is a total coup, Tink. I mean, they are literally taking over. They will move. So it's taking over. And I don't think there's any parliamentary rule that prevents them from doing that. I mean, it should surely have occurred to someone in the last 500 years that all the opposition has to do is, get a minority government and then just refuse to let that government resign. And you can just control them. You can become the government without ever having to fight an election. James says Anthony Lyndon Blair was one of the best toilet traders in the biz. Yes, he was. He was one of the best bull shippers as well. DJ Beta. All right, yeah. I got diabetic on a curly whirly. Tink says rigged elections. God help us. Yeah, we must all go out and vote Boris. Yeah. Not only vote for Brexit. Firstly, don't vote for. There's no point voting for the Tories or the Brexit parties unless there's some kind of pact. Because if not, you'll be in your constituency and you'll have a Brexit party candidate and a Tory party candidate, both wanting Brexit, and you'll have to choose from between them. They're going to be competing with each other. What's the point of that? That's what I mean by divide and conquer. Now, if Boris and Nigel don't get together and sort it out, at least put aside their differences temporarily, then there's just no point. You might as well not bother voting. What you must do is I won't bother because East Oxford is cuck central. It's a Ramona heartland. So it's one of the safest Labour seats in the world, my East Oxford. But Annalisa Dodds, our MP, has got nothing to worry about. But if you live in a marginal seat, you need to monitor the election. You need to monitor the count. You need to monitor as much as you can the polling stations, and monitor the counting in the town halls. Keep an eye on them. Is it right? Is it treason? Says Ben. Just get the blonde wig and go the whole hog. I'd rather be dead in a ditch. Adrian says Remainers are slowly destroying themselves. Hi, Adrian. And you're absolutely right. I mean, the good side of this, which I am trying to remember and trying to bear in mind, is that really, when you look at it objectively from a bigger picture and you're not immersed into it emotionally like I am, you realize that we not only are winning this battle, we've won it. We won it in June 2016 when the response from the globalists was to try and block Brexit using the methods they're doing. Because whatever happens now, they can't win, because by what they're doing, whether they succeed or fail in blocking Brexit, they have exposed themselves to the scrutiny. It's like that moment in They Live when the signal gets turned off and everyone can suddenly see the aliens. It's like that. When the human disguise falls away and everyone can see. Don't vote, says Stephen. No. Well, it's worth voting in certain circumstances. Oh, by the way, someone asked me the other day, if there's a second referendum, what's going to happen? I said, it's a chance to go and vote Leave again, and this time Leave will win. Well, no. I personally, this is not an easy decision, and I understand the point of view against it, but I'm going to boycott any second referendum. I think we should all boycott it because it's a farce. It's a farce. To vote in a second referendum is essentially playing the Ramona's game, the game where they want to reduce the importance of the original 2016 referendum by having a second one. If we vote in it, we are taking part in that scam. And what do you think? Firstly, they're not gonna make the same mistakes they're gonna make last time. They're gonna go flat out for more electoral fraud, more dirty propaganda, more horror stories about Brexit and about how the dead will rise from the earth and Godzilla will stamp across the country and all things like that. So they're going to pull out the stops to get the Remain victory, and they're going to use every dirty trick, any means fair or foul. And that's a quote actually from someone I know who's a Remainer, who I won't name, but I was very upset when I heard them say that. And supposing that doesn't work, supposing Leave win in the second referendum, what do you think is going to happen? They go, okay, we've had a second referendum, Leave has won again. They might even increase the majority. So that's it. We're going to do Brexit. No. They'll think of some excuse to have a third referendum and a fourth and a fifth. It was actually Jacques Delors, who's the former EU Commission president, who said over when Denmark rejected the Maastricht Treaty way back in the 90s, they had to have another vote. And he actually said, we're going to keep on having referendums until we get the result we want. So, Stephen, don't vote is something I would say in some circumstances, but not others. Tink says, "Oh, he's talking about Adrian, the Ramonas. Yeah, are here are an extension of the satanic libtard snowflake Democrats in the USA. Yes, they're both controlled by the same forces. Galaxian is there. Galaxian says, if Corbyn promised total disclosure, would you vote for him? I wouldn't believe him, Galaxian. Firstly, you can't promise it and not do it. So it's not something you could vote for. It's something you would have to do before the election, and then by which time it will be a fait accompli. It wouldn't make any difference. Proselytizing Rabbit says, are you wearing a blonde wig in that link because you want to look like David Icke? Yes. It's actually, the wig is actually, it's a joke. I mean, you looking at the avatar on the thing, it's a joke. I did dress up like David Icke once for Halloween. Videos from the underground. Play the game with the Ramonas and outwit them and then win. In the case of a second referendum, the best thing to do would be, I think, would be not to outwit them, would be to boycott it. There's been, you see, the decision has been made. There's been a referendum. The decision has been made. I'm not going to be asked again. People ask me, no, I'm not going to be asked again. I've been asked and I've replied. It's an insult to tell us, no, you got the wrong answer. We're going to ask you again. And then we reply. It's an insult to us. Andrew Munchkin. Welcome, Andrew. That's a good name. Hey, Ben, have you asked David Icke for help on your book? If not, why not? No, I haven't. And the reason is because it's not his book. It's my book. David has his own books to write, and I have mine to write. Hugo Roonsus never voted, never will. I'm just along for the ride in my wheelchair. All right. Fair enough, Hugo. I mean, I'm as I said, I'm not only going to vote under certain circumstances. I'm not going to vote in a second referendum. I'm not going to vote in the general election unless there is a formal coalition of some kind, or some kind of pact between Farage and Boris. Stephen said selection, not election. Well, Stephen, as I talked to you about this before, in the pre-2016 world, that would be universally correct. It's not universally correct. Rabbit says David Icke is a vile individual. No, he's not. And Stephen says troll alert. Stephen, proselytizing Orthodox Pentecostal trans rabbit is not a troll. He's just a wind-up merchant. He or she is just a wind-up merchant, and don't take him or her too seriously. Same goes for Paul Armstrong, who's somewhere in chat as well. And I like him too, Galaxian. I like David Icke, Galaxian too. You know. Nothing is as it seems. I hope the stupid criminals don't realise the alarms don't work when the power's cut off. Oh, yeah. That's a great song, isn't it? Billy the Hat. Greetings, Billy. Welcome. I hope no MP knocks on my door for their sake. Oh, Billy, you know, I'm waiting for one of those Ramona candidates to knock. Oh, God. If one of them comes around or they come up to me, I will have to... Oh. I mean, I won't do anything criminal, but I will give them hell. I'll give them everything within the law I can give them, you know. And, speak of the devil, Paul Armstrong, yet to have MP knock on my door. Yeah. Well, Paul, it's possible the reputation has gone round a little bit. I mean, with me, I have had them round, you see, because I think I do have a reputation that they must know about in the local Labour Party. However, I live with two Sudanese men, and of course... I don't actually know if they can vote. I think they probably can. I'll ask them. And of course, Labour, they love the immigrants, don't they? I mean, they brought the immigrants in partly so they can have a supermajority. DJ Butu says, I think it will be a hung parliament due to the Brexit and Tory split. Well, if that's DJ, I hope if during the actual election there's no coalition, there's no pact between Tories and the Brexit Party, that if it does result in a hung parliament, and then they can form a government. I do hope so. If that happens, then it will be a lucky escape, because the worst thing can happen if there's a hung parliament and then we have a Labour Lib Dem government, which is equally possible. James Sidney Matthews says, I personally blame Mr. Hugo Roon for the Brexit biz. Oh, really? Is it Hugo's fault, is it? Why is that? It's got his sticky grooming fingerprints all over it. Oh, is that right? Hugo, why is it Hugo's fault? And he says here, guilty as charged. Well, Hugo's confessed. There you are. Xavier Smith, are there any good truth events in London coming up? Yes, Xavier Smith, there is a There's something I can't get to myself, but it's happening tomorrow. Let me just tell you, because I would love to go to this. I'll give you the details so you can get there. Here we go. Here we go. Where is it? I'll give you the details. I don't know if I'll post it because it's a Facebook page. Where are we? This is happening tomorrow. It's called Where We Go One, We Go All, the QAnon Conspiracy at the Fortean Society. And that's at the Bell, 50 Middlesex Street, London, United Kingdom. There are tickets still available. And I think it's like it's a Fortean Times event, but it should be good. And they do some good ones. They're sort of partly skeptical, but it's always great fun, and everyone's very nice, even though half of them are skeptics. They're very nice. So they're not like the skeptic trolls. So do get to that if you can. I'm really sorry I can't. Stephen says, you do realise that a lot of politic icons are mates behind closed doors. Well, they pretend. Some of them are. Some of them pretend to be, yeah. Rabbit says, globalists, are you a commie, Ben? No, I'm the exact opposite to a commie. Oh. Xavier Smith says, aliens. Oh, yeah. Aliens. Where am I now? Oh, it's gone to the bottom. Oh, blimey. Where are we? They also mate behind closed doors, Mr. Seeker. Yes, well, Keith Vaz certainly does, doesn't he? that dirty bastard. Honestly, man, what's he doing? What's he doing? You know, hiring male prostitutes when a man in his position. What did he think he was going to do? Get away with it? We're not that sort of like progressive and enlightened yet, are we? There'll be a few more MPs, new MEPs need to come to university before they tolerate that sort of thing. I think in 20 years' time, if the globalists have their way, it'll just be normal. But anyway, video says, war of ideology is happening on both sides of the world. Preserve your national sovereignty, borders, culture, keep hammering away at the globalists, keep voting. Exactly, yes. So we do have to preserve our national sovereignty and culture and keep... This does not mean this doesn't justify any hostility or prejudice for anyone other than yourself, people of a different race, religion, culture, etc. But we do have to essentially defend our borders, which means part of that is the immigration issue. It needs to be dealt with. It needs to be dealt with in a way that doesn't, as I said, victimize or blame anyone who comes to move in and live in this country, but rather the people who engineer the situation where that happens. Trans Rabbit says aliens are globalists. Well, aliens come from other planets. Diego Rivera says, can Brexit still happen on the 31st? Not now, Diego Rivera. Sorry, they've stitched it up. It's really, really sad, which is why Boris is going for an election. Stephen says, but you're taking part in the scam by voting and buying into the system anyway. No, Stephen. Before 2016, I would have agreed with you, but now things are different. Things have changed. Honestly, I mean, watch my 2016 video. Yeet Defeat says, I love Brexit. Yes. Can I? Oh, welcome, Yeet. How are you? And just to add to what, anyway, where is it now? Adrian says, going to be extinct. Stephen says, it's all a scam. Stephen, you see, like what you said for your last comment, there are certain situations where I would say don't vote, and I've just told you what those are. But they're in the post 2016 world, there are situations where I think voting is not only worth doing, I think it's essential. James says, Ben, easy now. There are plenty of other authoritarian ideologies out there. Time's a great healer. Oh, well, yeah. DJ says, Gojira is primed under Cumbria Viaja for tsunami action. What does that mean? Something about tsunamis. Rabbit says, I noticed Ben still hasn't tidied up that pile of junk by his bed. I know. I've got nowhere to tidy it up to, actually, unfortunately. Gary Robinson. Evening, Ben. The real Gary Robinson is in the house. I'm glad to hear it, Gary. Yes, except no cheap imitations. It is Gary. He's not Greta Thunberg in disguise. Tink says, is Boris playing the game with POTUS on Thursday? Are going for an illegal impeachment on POTUS, a trial, court to TV, bar, FISA, crowdsource server, Ukraine, Assange, extradition, public trials, Gitmo. The whole business with Trump being impeached, I've not really had time to look into it, but it does seem that there are moves afoot to seriously impeach him, which is, it's perfectly predictable. Perfectly predictable, and it might backfire. It might, because for the election next year, for Trump's election, because some of the opinion polls claim that an impeachment would actually make him more popular. A president who was impeached is not necessarily removed from office. And Clinton was impeached, yet he served for 2 terms. An impeached president, what impeachment is the first stage towards a possible criminal prosecution. Anyway, and remember, some presidents are removed without impeachment. Nixon was never impeached, yet he had to resign over the Watergate scandal. Gary Robinson says, I'm lost and confused on the matter of Brexit, mate. Oh, Gary, you're not alone there, I can tell you. I think nearly all of us are lost and confused. Diego Rivera says, Boris Johnson says Brexit can still happen on the 31st. Well, where did he say that, Diego? I mean, if that happens, it's just 2 days away. If that happens, I'll be jumping for joy. I will do a live stream. I'll do what Katie Hopkins does. Well, Katie Hopkins says she's going to strip herself naked and wear pictures of Boris Johnson on her nipples, and I'll do the same. If there's Brexit happens on Thursday, I will do the same. Although I look different. I look different naked than Katie Hopkins does, but. Stephen says it's selection and not election. Well, Stephen, as I said, post 2016 world, things are a bit different. David Schultz says there's trouble here in River City from Zero Hedge Lead. More than half Americans want government to censor speech. Yeah, David, I mean, your country at the moment is going through a difficult time. I mean, you have your own Boris and your own Brexit, who is Trump. And he's got the entire establishment against him. And you have an election coming up next year. So, I'll be covering American issues before then. I'm sure I will be covering American issues. I'm hoping to go to the United States next year, actually. I want to go to the Roswell Festival if I can save the money up. Tink says, lol, climate change is a proven hoax. That's true. I don't believe Greta. I believe it's, weather which they can manipulate. No, Greta is a young girl who's younger than 17, I believe. I think she's 2 to 3 years younger than that, and she's being used as a mascot for this, basically, Agenda 21. I consider that child abuse. She's obviously a little bit. She's short of a few brain cells upstairs. I don't know if she's autistic or something, but she's obviously got brain damaged in some way. So I believe they are abusing a brain-damaged child, essentially. DJ says Ibiza is ground zero for the Gojira Godzilla Rising. DJ, I doubt that, because, I mean, when the people, like the teenagers and people like that who go to Ibiza, the amount of drugs they take, they'll see anything. DJ says Pentecostal is XE. What's XE mean? XE, don't know what that means. Stephen says, Merry Christmas. Anyway, even that's fake. Stephen, it's a bit early for Christmas now. I saw some Christmas adverts in the shops. I saw mince pies on sale in Co-op, and I wanted to wring their necks with boughs of holly. It's bloody October. It's not even bonfire night yet. I can't think about bloody Christmas. Oh, dear. Tink says, I thought we could still have Brexit on the 31st, as no one has signed. Sodal, Ben hasn't. Yeah, I'm sorry, Tink. But I don't know if Boris said we can still have it. If we have it, we'll see Katie Hopkins and me naked with pictures of Boris on our nipples. Nothing as it seems. What is with all of these butterflies? Oh, wait. You are lucky to see one a week. You mean like the disappearing insects and things? That does worry me, yeah. Rabbit says, I'm an avid conspiracy theorist watcher. I thought you might be Rabbit, seeing as you watch my channel. Adrian, David Icke woke me up with the biggest secret. Yeah, me too. David Icke, very, very influential on me. As with Stephen. I've known Stephen a long time, actually. Stephen Homeless Truth Seeker. And we've met a few times at David Icke inspired events. Rose White says, I hope they knock on my door. I need to vent. Oh, God. I will be so angry. I know I'll say to them, look, you communist bastards. I'm an uneducated white male. I voted leave. Now I know what you think of me, so get the fuck off my doorstep and get away from me. I would never vote for you, ever, if someone marched me at the polling station by gunpoint. Oh. As I say, well, I suppose we can't count on your vote then, sir. So, yeah, no shit. John Boy, hello, John Boy, how are you? Do you think the rules should be changed so that if an MP changes parties, they should be made to hold a by-election? And why do you think the rules haven't been changed after all this skullduggery? The answer is yes. In fact, this happened when CUCK was first started, when Anna Soubry and all those other people defected to CUCK. People were saying, well, look, why don't you hold a by-election? You know, people voted for you as a Labour candidate, and now you've left Labour and you've left whatever other party you're in. You formed a new party, so you should put yourself up to election again. And I think that probably should be constitutional, actually. And why the rules haven't been changed after all this skullduggery? Probably because it's too soon, John Boy. It's only just happened. But you can bet that at some point someone is going to actually address that, and they're not going to make that mistake again. Rabbit says, Ben is the only conspiracy nut I've discovered that isn't a total tosser. Oh, well, you know, Rabbit, I'm touched by that compliment. I really am. Okay. Up we go. James says, David woke my up with a 12-inch when I last remote viewed Kerry Unsworth knicker drawer, Mr. H. Oh, right. God. James, the things you come out with. And Tink says, David Icke, whether you like him personally or not, has done wonderful work. Yes, exactly. Is it Teresa says, I need a David Icke alarm clock to wake me up. DMT got that for you there first. I'd love a David Icke alarm clock too. I'd love to be lying there and suddenly it goes beep, beep. It's not a conspiracy. It's an agenda. Just a coincidence. Nothing to worry about. I go, oh, God, is that the time already? Stephen says, taking part in the electoral system, no, it only looks after the people who created it. Stephen, I would say before 2016, I would have agreed with you 100%, but now, no. James Tilly Matthews says, could we be witnessing the end of Mr. Nephilim Jonestown's political period? James, no, absolutely not. But as you know, I cover lots of different subjects, and all I will do, because there's probably going to be no news now on the Brexit situation until the general election. So I'll probably just take some time out of it and just stop thinking about it. Just partly to keep myself sane, and also there's lots of other things going on in the world which I want to cover. For example, I'm going to the Lapis conference in the weekend after next, so I'll be taking my little camera along and giving you a reportage of that, and lots of other things as well. James says, I'm reliably told it's called poop shooting the locals, Mr. Ben Counters. Poop shooting. Oh right. Oh yeah, that's what they do to us, don't they, James? Tink says, where are the current UK police force in all of this? If they did their job arresting the elite pedos and corrupt ones, we wouldn't be in this mess now, and now they wouldn't be in jail. The police have let us down. Tink, yeah, I mean, this kind of reminds me of the conversation I had with the guy with the officer who arrested me in London during the last protest, because I kind of talked him through this. I wasn't accusatory. I didn't say, why aren't you doing your job properly and doing this? I just, if you do that to a policeman, you're not going to get anywhere with them because they'll just get defensive. I just said to him, I just explained to him the situation. I said, this is a country under foreign occupation. You're arresting the good guys because that's what is going to happen. Good guys are going to get into trouble. And so it's a good question there, definitely, Tink. Again, I mean, I wonder how this is going on because I know that the armed forces are very much on our side. So if it came to a fight, we'd be in a good position, because I know they're very much on the side of Brexit and the Brexiteers and the anti-globalists. I'm not talking about the head shed. I'm not talking about the commanders and the headquarters and the people like that. But the average soldier, the foot soldiers, are very much on the side of the anti-globalists and the Brexiteers, even if they don't agree with all the conspiracies and things like that. So I think if it came to push came to shove, in terms of violent conflict, we'd be in a very strong position. Stephen says, that individual has been getting away with it for years. Which individual? David Schultz. Say, Ben, what's your take of this hasty burial at sea? Another Baghdadi raid. Details parallel to bin Laden. What's that? Yeah, what's happened with that? Because David, what's happened to al-Baghdadi? Because he was. What's happened? Because was he bin Laden? That's really important, actually. Where is it? Al-Baghdadi. Here we are. Let me just find out the details. Al-Baghdadi. Al-Baghdadi death. Here we go. Killed by. Apparently, he blew himself up by suicide. A couple of days ago, 26th of October, which was Saturday, and it was in it was in Syria. Oh, blimey. Let's have a look what happened to him. Trump says al-Baghdadi has killed al-Baghdadi, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, who's probably I think his real name is Simon. He's somebody who worked for Mossad. Yeah. But what's happened to the body? Because if you remember the bin Laden thing, David. Because when bin Laden died, I was actually on night shift at the time, and there was an interview on news from someone from the U.S. Embassy saying, "Oh, this is great. Yes, what's going to happen to the body? Oh, the body will be taken to the United States. The bin Laden's body will be taken to the United States and put on display for all the world's media. We're all prepared for it." And that there'll be a period of at least 2 weeks while that was going on, and only then, at the end of that 2-week period, would the body be returned to the family for burial. And guess what happened? I was watching it in the Porter's Lodge on the TV. I went home, turned on the TV to find out the details. Oh, what's that? Oh no, they just threw him in the sea. They took the body to an aircraft carrier in the Arabian Sea, and they just did a burial at sea where they found a Muslim member of the crew to conduct it, and they just did a burial at sea. So no body. How convenient. So what happened with Baghdadi? I don't know. But I know that apparently he was chased down a tunnel, and then he ended up, he was begging for his life at one point, apparently. And then he was with his family, and he detonated his suicide vest, killing himself and his family. Green Sky 17, sick of Labour, yes. But we'll vote Tory just to get this Brexit through. Yeah. What's the hell's going on with those fires in California? I don't know, but I heard. There was some previous fires that resemble the kind of Dr. Judy Wood situation with the directed energy weapons. So I'm not sure what's happening, Green Sky, with the California fires, but they're there. I know that. I haven't looked at them in detail. Is it treason? Yeah. The only is it treason likes Corbyn? No, the only non-liar is Corbyn. No, treason. Is it treason? The only non-liar is Boris and a couple of the others. Corbyn is a complete opportunist, and he's two-faced. Look at the way he's changed his position. He's not different. I'm afraid he's not. I thought he was. He's not. Rabbit says conspiracy theorists are statistically less likely to vote. So you think it's all a sham? Why bother? This is to the benefit of wider society in the long run. Well, as I said, Rabbit, it's not always a sham. It sometimes is, but not always. So I'm afraid this conspiracy theorist does vote sometimes. Tink says, fires in California, I believe, deep state covert wars. I haven't looked into that in detail, but it could be, yeah. James says, Diane Abbott is an inspirational piece of socialized love medicine. Oh, well, in that case, is it the kill or the cure? I think I'd have to hold my nose before I took a spoonful of that. Corbyn didn't know. Corbyn lapped up the whole bottle, didn't he? He gulped it down. Certainly did. It certainly didn't do him any good, though, did it? I mean, not least, I'm sure his wife didn't think much of it. Also, it's possible she's got some dirt on him, photographs and things like that, and love letters. Tink says that those poor people. DJ Buju. Cumbre Vieja is a volcanic fault under the Balearic Islands, which can be exploited to wipe out most of Europe with significant force. Oh, right. Thanks, DJ. So that's under you mentioned Ibiza earlier, so yeah. James Tilly Matthews says, what is Katie Hopkins going to wear around her love length? Well, probably one of Boris Johnson's ties. She'll probably have a pair of like bikini bottoms made out of one of Boris Johnson's ties, and pictures of him on her nipples. I mean, that'd be quite a sight, wouldn't it? Probably even I would fancy her if she'd put that on. Is it treason? Said, I voted Leave, but never vote Tory. Working class Tories are the worst. But if you voted Leave and say you'd never vote Tory, unfortunately, you're essentially saying I'm not voting Leave anymore. I'm afraid. Rabbit says Trump is an idiot. No, he's not. DJ Beto, I've only been to the state once. It's a great place. I'd like to, yeah. DJ, our American cousins are good people. Our American cousins, DJ, did you know that was the play that Abraham Lincoln was watching at the Ford Theatre when John Wilkes Booth walked in and shot him? It's called Our American Cousins. You see what a bloody anorak I am, eh? I'm a conspiracy anorak. Huge arsehole says, is that a piss bucket on the fridge? Oh, the buckets again. I should put a sign on it when I'm doing these live streams saying what it. I would not exactly put a bucket of urine above my fridge, would I? Where I keep some food and drink. No, it actually contains my dirty socks and underpants, and you don't want to look inside there, believe me or not. It's like Pandora's box. Open that, and all the evil comes out. Right, where are we? Oh, God. Oh, where are we now? Yeah, here we go. And DJ has informed Hugh exactly what it is, yes. Tink, it's time for the whole new transparent system. Get rid of the royals, old hat elitist system, localized power, yeah. A money system backed by gold, yeah. You can get a money system backed by gold, but make sure plenty of people do it, because otherwise you'll get killed, kicked to death like Gaddafi. Sonic Lady 89, Greta Thunberg. See a video by E. Michael Jones about Greta's mental state. I will, Sonic, thanks. I know E. Michael Jones, he's cool. Stephen, I'm not seeing a real difference since 2016. No anti-grav cars, and where people, don't have to work. Well, Stephen, watch my video why 2016 matters if you haven't already. Yeah, we haven't got the anti-gravity cars yet, but the 2016 could be the first step in the process that will bring them out. We have XXX. Hello, XXX. Hi, boss from my Saudi Arabia. Oh, hello. Well, thanks for writing in English. We had some people writing in Arabic on the live stream. I had to translate it. In the end, they were doing it so much I had to just delete their comments because I couldn't translate them fast enough. James, Greta Thunberg is a chew toy for the coffee shop metropolitans. Yes, she is, the poor kid. Yes. Stephen, if anything, it's getting worse since 2016. No, Stephen, believe it or not, I don't think it is. Have you watched my video on that subject? DJ, just bullshit the MP and tell the pollsters it's between me and the ballot box. I'll be too angry, DJ. I'll have to vent, as Rose White was saying. I'm going to vent. James, just change your underpants. Visit the doctor in the morning. I think that's a line from the Young Ones, isn't it? Gary, Ben, how dare you? Stolen my dreams. Have I? I'm sorry. Gary, I watched your Megtown video last night. I meant to add some comments, but I ran out of time. I'll try and do that tonight. Well, thanks, Gary. I'm going to do, actually, one of the things I can do now the Brexit situation is on the back burner is a comments reply video. I might do that this weekend because I haven't, there's so many comments there. And I haven't done one for 2 months. And I know you guys want replies, and you're entitled to replies, and you're going to get them. Rabbit, David Icke is a weirdo, though. Paranoid egotist with a messiah complex. I don't think he is. He's not perfect, Rabbit, but yeah, he is. Paul Armstrong, use these 6 weeks to finish the Obscurati Chronicles. Well, I'll be able to. What I want to do is get the sample chapter ready by Christmas, Paul. I won't finish it that quickly. Stephen says, we're still slaves, Ben. I don't think so. Tink, POTUS is obliterating the deep state one by one. He's trying to wake up the masses before he arrests HRC and Obama. I think POTUS will let them go for fake impeachment as he has all the dirt on them. Oh, well, I'm curious to see how this goes. Maybe at the QAnon thing tomorrow, it'll be discussed, which I can't get to because it looks good. Rabbit says, a narcissist. Video says, I'm looking again at the McCarthy era over here. Myron Fagan did some talks about it. Communism is insidious and had to be exposed. Yeah, it's interesting that Senator Joe McCarthy. Yeah, I saw that. Where was it? Yeah, hang on. Yeah, Myron Fagan did the thing. Right? Yeah, Red Stars Over Hollywood. It's called, and it's very interesting. And in a sense, I know. Now, I don't. In a sense, McCarthy was kind of vindicated somewhat when you consider the number of spies and that. But I still don't. I still agree with free speech. Even communists are entitled to free speech. But it's interesting that McCarthy was not as bad as people make him out to be. DJ B2 said, "I got sacked today and I'm happy." Well, all right. I'm if you're happy, I'm happy for you. But I hope you got another job. I hope you find another job quickly enough. David Schultz, Ben, sounds like your politicians are no different than the politicians here in the States. They're two wings of a buzzard, taking the people for a ride on Brexit to nowhere. With a few noble exceptions, David, yes. The right and left wings, as they say, are like the wings of a buzzard. I've heard that's a good expression. I've heard it before. Trump is an exception. Boris Johnson is an exception. Rabbit says, do you believe in all that QAnon stuff too, Ben? Yes. And in fact, Rabbit, check out my videos on QAnon. I've done at least 2 videos on QAnon. So check it out. James says, Anne Widdecombe is a banquet of a woman. I do like old Anne Widdecombe. I do. I mean, not in a sense of attraction, but I like her style. I think she's cool. I like. She's done some good speeches in European Parliament. DJ, my health is more important than a paycheck. Yes, it is. But a paycheck's always nice, DJ. Stephen says, Bin Laden, I think you mean, has been killed about 3 times. He has. James, this dad baggy chap, is he East Coast or West Coast? Oh, it depends which Mossad office he was attached to. I don't know where he is now or whether he really did die. James, I've tried to get home with the Downies. Stephen. Al-Baghdadi sounds like a made-up name. He is. It's kind of like Mohammed Evil Al-Turban, isn't it? It's like that. Dad Baggy is on iTunes. Nothing in it seems talking about foreign occupation. The UN in Salt Lake City. Yeah. The UN is an embryonic world government. I mean, David Ray Griffin wrote a book called The Fearful Master. I was given a copy, actually, by an American friend. Very good, that one, isn't it? Adrian, hasn't Bin Laden been killed more than once? He has indeed. In fact, he was first reported dead in early 2002 by an Egyptian newspaper. He died of kidney failure. He was also killed, apparently, by someone that Benazir Bhutto talked about before she was killed. And then he was killed again by American Special Forces in Pakistan. And his body was dumped in the sea, so no one can ever find it. Stephen, fake news, yeah. Diego Rivera, Al Big Daddy has died about 5 times before. Yeah. DJ, I think the thing is, if they've the thing with Baghdadi, and Xavier Smith said no way he was Al Baghdadi wearing a suicide vest. Well, did he have one on prepared when these troops attacked him? Does he just wear one all the time? Does he wear one in bed? Just that could be George. He's lying. He may have been sort of like rolling over in his sleep, and he actually hooks the little ripcord with his thumb, and he goes. So, I mean, in my view, this is suspicious. Obviously, perhaps they've decided to, dare I say, write him out of the story, in which case, why now? Yeah, Stephen said they did the same with the bin liners, second in command, killed him about 4 times, yeah. Videos just talking about the California fires. I'm going to skip through. I'm getting a bit tired, guys. Sorry about this. Hang on. Videos just talking about California fires and Agenda 21. Yeah, get people off the land. DJ. Yeah. Underground. Myron Fagan was an original with the LPs. Who LPs? Who's that? Who's the LPs? DJ. But I like the Myron Fagan thing. I've listened to some of them. I've listened to some of it actually about McCarthy. Yeah. James says Ben's political perspectives are like a blind man trying to choose between 2 hookers with herpes. No, James. That's a lovely poetic metaphor you used there. It really is. But I don't think that's fair. Stephen says there's more going on with the Texas shooting. Yeah, what's that all about? He looked like someone else, didn't he, who'd done a shooting, the guy who did it? Is it treason? Al-Baghdadi's been captured 3 times, poisoned once, and killed twice. These are facts reported in the press. It is, isn't it? Yeah. Diego Rivera says Brexit will still happen on the 31st. Right, well, Diego Rivera, don't forget to tune into the live stream, and I'll print out the 2 little pictures of Boris to stick there. James, we all have to choose between a hooker with syphilis and a whore with AIDS. Oh, God. You are getting very, very poetic. You really are. Stephen doesn't trust the press. Well, funny thing is, I think they're losing control of the media as well, the Illuminati. David Schultz, about this, Ben, US Air Force X-378 space plane returns from a secret 2-year mission. Yeah, that's the military space shuttle. Yeah, it came down. It's a spacecraft that goes. It carries out reconnaissance missions. It's unmanned, so it doesn't need. It can stay in space for much longer than the original space shuttle. And it's very odd, that, isn't it? It's just come back. Rabbit, I'm not going to move the bucket just to. I'm not going to move the bucket. It's become part of the scenery anyway. Just like the hats, you see, the hat's still there. Not even the aliens would touch that bucket. Diego Rivera, no, they wouldn't. They wouldn't dare, because it's my dirty socks and underpants are in there. Xavier Smith, E. Michael Jones's base. What, I've heard of him before. E. Michael Jones. Yeah, of course. Yes, the guy who wrote about Baghdadi. Yeah. Tink says POTUS followed Pelosi and original Adam Schiff direct to Baghdadi, hence the ceasefire, and they obliterated him. That's how POTUS knew where he was. We know these elites pay for these fake terrorists. Well, yeah, Baghdadi himself was, I mean, his background, that was interesting. Someone found out his real name is Shimon Stevens or something. He's a Mossad. He's Israeli, and he is involved with Mossad. So he's got several names, and one of them is a very Israeli name. Nothing says a Jew weapon would want to set up fires as crescendo. Once smoke builds up, you can see the laser weaponry. It's not lasers, nothing. It's the Hutchison effect. Transrabbit says, I've noticed these conspiracy theories tend towards authoritarianism. That's where they end up parroting Gaddafi propaganda, for example. Well, I don't parrot Gaddafi propaganda, but the fact of the matter is, I'm just saying I know why he was taken out, why Libya was invaded and taken out. DJ B2 says, I do not comment as it's unfair to Ben. Hugo Rune managed to hand wash 5 items while listening to this, and that's not bad, Hugo. When you're stoned, you know, washing items when you're stoned is bloody difficult. Stephen, since 2016, I've become homeless, and if there was a great shift or smaller one by now, things would be changing. I'm sorry you became homeless, Stephen. I really am, but you know, unfortunately, great shifts are often slow shifts, and that's why we don't see the anti-gravity car straight away, I'm afraid. DJ says, I prefer the live streams. I mean, I'm getting fond of these live streams. I really am. If I have enough time to do one, I like doing them. Diego Vera, let's get the English Bigfoot as PM. Well, I hope that wouldn't be bad. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yes. Oh, hang on. Oh, there we go. You happy living in the Matrix, says Stephen. No, Stephen, no. I believe we can get out. I think 2016 is about getting out of the Matrix. Rabbit, what would not living in the Matrix be like? Oh, no, you're talking like Cypher and the Matrix. Great movie, yeah. Stephen, what about the head of the eagle? I don't know about that. Bin Liner is what? With video said, I've been to Widdicombe on the Moon. I didn't see Anne, though. Does she live there? Stephen says, not living in the Matrix would be a lot different from this shite. No, not living in the Matrix would be a lot different from what's coming. But at the moment, we're just 3 years past 2016. As I say, it's a slow shift. Huge arsehole says, rich Ramonas are the racists and the snobs. They are indeed. It's actually the old aristocracy is not snobbish. They actually quite appreciate the working class. The real snobs now you find in university gender studies departments. DJ Bhutto. Interesting that Benazir Bhutto thing. Now Pakistan has a cricketer as Prime Minister. Yes, Imran Khan. That's right. Stephen, people wouldn't have to work for one. Well, no, Stephen, you've got to give it time. Unfortunately, these things take time. Records, yeah, DJ Bhutto, LPs, records, 33. Oh, right, LPs. Oh, that's, yeah, because Myron Fagan's been around a long time, hasn't he? Because like Anthony J. Hilder, he actually used to produce records, but this is the days before MP3s and things like that and YouTube. Alex Fate, hello, Brother Porter, just joined, listening. Alex Fate, Pride and Dignity. How are you? Nice to hear from you, Alex. Alex exists. I've met him. He's real. Alex, are you coming to the event with Gush Gareth is organising, by the way? Oh, where? I've lost my bloody place. Where the... Are you coming? Are you coming to it, Alex, in London? Gareth Davis of Mindset is arranging a social. David Schultz. Ben, put this on your must-view list. The BBC will show a 3-part version and will be faithful to the book, Brooke, The War of the Worlds in the near future. Yes, David, I saw that. I saw that advertised. I saw the trailer. It looks pretty good. I mean, it's not like it's actually it's being faithful to the book, because the last 2 adaptations of War of the Worlds, that was the 2003 one and the 1957 one, were contemporary. Whereas this one is going to be set when the book was written in the sort of late 19th century. So I'm very, very hopeful that this will be a good adaptation. But it's interesting, though, that the War of the Worlds is the original, the first and original alien invasion movie, isn't it? It's the first story of alien invasion. Savvy Smith, a new Rich Planet came out today. Yes, I've just had the thing. I've just had the notice. I'm on the mailing list. DJ Bhutto says, "I'm glad I read out his war comment." Stephen, I know it's like it's as I said, Stephen. It's 2016. 2016 is still going on now. You got to be patient, mate. Sorry. Rabbit says, "I think I'd be easier to hear the batshit crazy conspiracies Ben doesn't believe in rather than those he does." Yes, indeed, Rabbit. I don't believe the Earth is flat. I don't believe Lewis Hamilton is Barack Obama's son. You know, you would be amazed at the kind of conspiracy theories going around that, even by my standards, are absurd. Gary, the Masonic floor tiles, yes. We talk about Gary. We've talked about the bucket, and now we got on the hat, and now we've got to talk about the Masonic floor tiles. Yes, that's indeed. This was a Masonic lodge. The Jelly, the guy who lived in here before, was 33rd degree. You know, he's the head of the Sudanese Masonic network. Rabbit says Libya wasn't invaded, Ben. Yes, it was. I know the insurgents were domestic, but they were funded and organized. I mean, Hillary Clinton admitted it. We saw he died. She laughed about it, didn't she? Right. Washing your something when you are stoned is a long process, lol, says DJ. Stephen, that sounds like a fob off, Ben. It's not a fob off, Stephen. I mean, I've explained. I have explained. I honestly do. I promise you, it's not a fob off. I've done entire videos explaining exactly what I mean. So please do watch them if you haven't already. Feel free to leave a comment. I'm happy to discuss it with you. Hugo says, being stoned is not a problem for me, quite normal. I get a lot of things done. Don't believe the shite about cannabis. I know, Hugo, I don't. That's right. Rabbit says, Gaddafi was in power 40 years. He was hated and feared. Considering your rage against imaginary injustice at home, can you imagine what it must have been like in Libya, Ben? No, Rabbit, I can't. And I'm not saying I'm a supporter of Gaddafi. I'm saying why he was taken out by the globalists. Well, Hugo, I'm glad you get it prescribed, because, as I said, people with neurological problems, like my mum was the same. She had multiple sclerosis, benefit from it enormously. Alex, I'm sorry you can't be there, but I know you may go incognito, but I know what you look like. I've met you. Andrew says, is having a bucket full of dirty socks and undies on the fridge British? I don't know. I'm the only British person I know who does that. Stephen says, I've noticed cannabis robs people of their sense of humour. Well, Stephen, I actually, what it does, when I smoked it, I laughed my head off. I just kept laughing and laughing and laughing. I couldn't stop. I laughed at everything. Adrian says, yeah, has the West improved Libya? Good question, Adrian. It was up to Adrian. It was all, sorry, Rabbit. It was all organised by Hillary Clinton and a load of other people as well, by the Saudi Arabia and the Israelis. It was all organised. Paul Armstrong, Oxford 1, Sunderland 0. Half time. Well, Joey H. Welcome, Joey. How are you? Oh, well, good for you, Hugo. Grow your own. Yeah, grow your own cannabis. Stephen, it's not controlled. No, it's not controlled. I do believe it's. You're sorry. You're talking about cannabis. I don't know the answer to that. Then, the country back to the Stone Age. Yeah, they've got open air slave markets in Libya now. Sure, it was never a good thing, but I mean, it did have a fairly functional system. I mean, this is one of the things that Jungle Surfer talked about and got right. DJ, Gaddafi was taken out because he wanted Africa to prosper. He wanted to create a gold standard bank of Africa, yes, and that is a death knell in this system. Yes, Ben, I helped MS patients around the country. Oh, well done, Hugo. Thanks. You might have met my mum. I don't know. You might have had some communication with my mum. Rabbit says, no, Ben, the people of Libya rose up against Gaddafi. The West just had to decide which way to jump. Rabbit, I don't have the details here now, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff online about how that's not the case. And the West didn't just wait to jump. The West funded and trained them. You know, I tell you, the proof came out long before all this broke out because Rabbit, David Shayler, do you remember MI5 spy? He was arrested because he blew the whistle. What he blew the whistle was he found out that Britain was sending money and indeed training, their military training to these very people. This is why he came out and he told people, and that's how he got into trouble. So honestly, Rabbit, there's lots more. I promise you. I mean, I don't have the details to discuss it with you in detail now, but it's there. I tell you. Joey H. What happened to Gaddafi's son Safa? I don't know. Rabbit. You don't give the living people agency for their own actions. Rabbit, I've explained why. DJ, Gaddafi was taken out due to the Rothschild-Mandelson property deal during the Blair. Yeah. David Shayler, who talked about it. Yeah. Stephen, you grow what you like until the police chopper sees your indoor garden in the matrix-free world. Oh, Rabbit says not true. All right, well, Rabbit, I don't have the details now to go into that. I'm sorry. Joey H. Follow Harold Boulder from Norway on YouTube. He travels the world and is so interesting. He travels the hills. Oh, right, you are. Thank. Rabbit, David Shayler has some rather strange ideas, Rabbit, now. Actually, I don't go along with completely. I'm still in touch with him. I still talk to him. I don't go along with every idea he has. But he's still an interesting guy, and I respect what he did. And isn't David Shayler King of England now? No, he's not. I wish he was. Gary says, Gaddafi's son was arrested. Oh, right. Hugo Rune, the police are aware of my grow, and I have permission from the Nottingham Chief Constable. He was in my house long ago. Yeah, I bet he was, Hugo, and I bet you and he shared a spliff or 3 or 4 spliffs together, didn't you? Rabbit, David Shayler proclaimed himself to be the second coming of Christ. I've actually read some of his book, Rabbit, and I know that he kind of, to say he's just nuts is an oversimplification. It's really not fair, but he came out with these rather strange ideas. But he has never renounced the other things he said. Joey H. He should have been executed. Who's that? Right. Legally. Guys, it's now 5 to 9. Are we going to break a record by having one less than 2 hours long? Because I'm getting a bit tired, actually. Is it all right if we... Hugo Rue. No, Ben, I did not light up in front of him. He was a non-smoker. Oh, sorry to disappoint you. Well, Hugo, you never know. You might convert him. You might corrupt him to the you might make him a weed head yet. You know, he could get the entire force on the stone, you know. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? Police cars driving along at 5 miles an hour. Rabbit says, is this another case of you defending another nutter and using him as evidence like you do David Icke? Rabbit, that's a loaded question, and I don't have the details to dispute what you're saying right now, but that is a loaded question. Stephen says, take a time machine to 2016. Well, I still remember it, you know. But guys, it's all right with you if I call it a night now. There's 52 people watching, but I'm tired and I want to have a little bit of a rest anyway. Clenham, hello. What's your thoughts on Billy Meyer? Oh, someone wants me to go on for another 2 hours. Clenham, I can't answer that now. I'm getting tired. Sorry, guys. I want to call it a night, man. 5 more hours, says Paul. No way. Good night, James. Good night. Thank you. And see you, David Schultz. Thank you very much. Watch the skies. Night, night, Andrew. Take something good to stack on. Thanks, Joey. I will. Goodbye, videos. And thank you, Xavier, very much. It was glad you enjoyed it. Good night, Clenham. You come and ask me about Billy Meyer another night. Lightweight, says Rabbit. You cheeky bastard. Lightweight indeed. Just wait till you... Pentecostal Trans Rabbit, just wait until you see my 10-hour comments reply video coming up. Night, Paul. Night, DJ. Night, Hugo. Night, Woody Black. Thanks all of you for taking part in this live stream. It wouldn't be the same without you. As I've said before, it would just be me talking to myself, which would be boring. So good night, Denise, and good night, Rabbit. And I hope to see you all again pretty soon. Keep watching the channel. There'll be more videos coming. And if there's a development on the Brexit situation, you'll hear it first, live and exclusive here on Hapanlo TV. And there'll be other subjects too. All right. Night, Adrian. Take care, guys. You've been really, really good. And I'll see you again very soon. Enjoy your next few days. Keep an eye on the channel. Hope you enjoy the upcoming comments, reply videos, and all the other things I'm doing. Take care, one and all. All the best.